I don't know if there is or not. According to Mitch McConnell, we may never find out. And shame on us if we let that happen. At this point in time, we owe it to the American people, if we raise our hands and swear impartial justice, to demonstrate it. And you don't demonstrate it by appearing on Sean Hannity and say, I've made up my mind. The president's going to survive this no matter what. I'm on his team. We're following his orders and instructions. That is not impartial justice or anything near it. I'm hoping that 4 Republican senators will think enough of this Senate and this institution, and most importantly, our Constitution, to stand up and say basic evidence is part of any fair and full trial in the United States. We need to have evidence brought before us, not only for the Senate, but for the American people and for the debt we owe to future generations.
Senator Murray.
Well, thank you. Over the last few months, while Leader McConnell has wasted time blocking nearly 400 bills the House has sent to us to help keep our communities safe from gun violence or address the climate crisis or lower health care costs, the House has followed its constitutional duty to get to the bottom of President Trump and his associates' action regarding Ukraine. The House conducted a careful and thorough investigation. It gathered an enormous amount of evidence, and the gravity of the resulting charges against the president are very serious. Those charges, as we know, are that the President of the United States has abused the power of our country's highest office to his own political benefit by asking a foreign government to help him win the next election, and that he has obstructed Congress from conducting our constitutional responsibility to oversee the executive branch, a responsibility intended to prevent circumstances like this from occurring in the first place. Let's be clear, that is exactly what our founding fathers feared could jeopardize this democracy. Put simply, if you have a president who thinks he owes his re-election to a foreign government, you have a president who cannot be trusted to put our countries first. Those are the charges. And that is not a circumstance anyone, regardless of party, should be willing to allow. So now, should the House move forward to impeach, each senator here has to consider the strong case the House has put forward as a citizen and a patriot, not a partisan. Leader McConnell must allow a fair trial in which all of the facts come out, rather than presupposing an outcome or strategizing within his own party on a Republican-only approach. And it is absolutely imperative, if the White House has any evidence demonstrating the president's innocence, they provide it by allowing relevant witnesses to testify under oath. We all deserve that if he has other evidence. Now, people are following this very closely across the country. They all want what is best for our country. So I hope each senator considers their responsibility to our democracy, remember the oath they took when they came here to Congress, and does their part to ensure that this trial is fair and honest and one this country needs.
Thank you, Senator Murray. Senator Stabenow.
Thank you. My colleagues and I understand what a historic moment this is. I think we all do, and we understand that we have a responsibility to move forward with integrity and transparency and openness and fairness, and that's what we're talking about today. But we have two kinds of responsibilities. One is to protect the Constitution, to make it clear no one is above the law, and that we move forward when there is abuse of power in our country. We also have a responsibility to get things done that people want to get done every day. And so I just want to close this discussion by speaking about the other piece of that, which is the fact that while the House is dealing with constitutional responsibilities on impeachment, they are also passing legislation in a historic manner in terms of the number of bills that they've been able to pass that directly affect the American people, make their lives better. Over 300 bills waiting on Mitch McConnell's desk. 9 out of 10 of them are bipartisan. 9 out of 10 of them are bipartisan. So they're doing both, and we're doing neither. The impeachment has not come to us yet throughout this year, and yet we're not dealing with any of that legislation. because it has sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk in what we have now dubbed the legislative graveyard. And let me just say, the American people are united on the need to reduce the outrageous cost of prescription drugs. The House took action. Mitch McConnell will not. The American people want folks with pre-existing conditions on their health care to know they're protected. The House took action. Mitch McConnell and the Republicans will not. Pensions and making sure that Butch-Lewis Act, which passed the House 146 days ago, gets action in the Senate to protect important pensions for all pensioners across the country. Nothing being done. And domestic violence, where women and children are waiting to have the changes, the reauthorization that needs to happen. House acted, Senate will not. And finally, 90% of the American people want Congress to pass universal background checks. We are seeing every day 100 Americans are killed every day to gun violence. We've had over 396 mass shootings just this year. The House has passed bipartisan legislation. Mitch McConnell and the Republicans will not act. We could save lives today. And at this point, they don't seem to care enough to act. So it's time for Mitch McConnell to stop stalling, do his job, and work with us on a fair constitutional process going forward on impeachment.
Wait. I got two more things to say. I just want to, again, I am utterly amazed what Mitch McConnell said. Mitch McConnell said proudly, he is not an impartial juror. Do the American people want Mitch McConnell not to be an impartial juror in this situation? And I would ask every one of my Republican Senate colleagues, are you impartial jurors, or are you like Mitch McConnell, proud not to be one? Second point, Leader McConnell talked about a bifurcation. Let's do the early, easy stuff first. No. The key issues here are witnesses and documents. We should decide those from the very beginning. In fact, many in my caucus have already voiced a fear that Mitch McConnell would just set up how many hours each side has to discuss things and then shut things down before we got witnesses. We should decide witnesses and documents from the beginning and not put it off. They are the most important decisions we must make.
Senator Schumer, but you have given countless searing speeches on the Senate floor about the president's activities vis-a-vis Ukraine. Can you legitimately look people in the eye and say that you are impartial?
I am.
Have you made up your mind that the president is...
I am withholding any final decision until we hear all the evidence. And one of the reasons that we want these witnesses and documents is so that we can hear the full length and breadth of what happened. I do not know what these four witnesses will say. Perhaps they'll exculpate McConnell. They'll exculpate Trump. Maybe they'll further condemn him. We don't know the answer to that, but before we make any final decisions, any of us, we ought to hear them.
How about in terms of sort of negotiating to have some of the Republican witnesses testify? They want to hear from the Bidens. They want to hear from, what about their witnesses in exchange for witnesses? Wouldn't that be an impartial effort?
Look, I await Senator McConnell to call me and say, let's discuss it. The witnesses we have chosen have direct eyewitness knowledge of the facts at issue in the House impeachment charges. The Republicans are talking about calling witnesses that have nothing to do with the charges, even though they may not like them. No one has said how Hunter Biden or Joe Biden has direct knowledge of the charges against President Trump and what he did. And I will tell you, most of my Republican colleagues are afraid of Republicans making this into a circus where all of these conspiracy theories that have no basis in fact intrude on the august and solemn nature of talking about the charges against the president.
Documents, you guys have done a lot of documents. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of using
urgency on getting those early instead of a couple weeks into this trial?
Yeah, we should get, if you want to move this trial, you know, in America we say justice should be speedy and fair. Trials should be speedy and fair. We agree with both. And the best way to move things along is to get the documents ahead of time. And we need Leader McConnell to agree. We should get them early on, go over them, and see what import they have on the trial without any question. What Leader McConnell is doing is trying to avoid and delay, whether by saying we should just vote on the easy stuff now and kick the important issues down the road to later, which I think could well be a subterfuge to never get them and never vote on them. Yes, no, this gentleman.
Yesterday you said you have sufficient support from Democrats and Republicans to back your proposals. That's still the case because the number of the self-professed moderate Republicans that we talked to yesterday seem to be more inclined.
I have seen a whole lot of Republicans either say they're taking this seriously or not answering the exact question as to whether these witnesses should testify. A whole lot. And I believe, I didn't say we have the votes. I said I expect we would get the votes, given how fair the request we are making. And now we've been buttressed by the fact that even 64% of Republicans out in the country agree with us. Yes, no, Kane?
Even under the Clinton procedures,
the meek shall be first.
The presidential team gets about 24 or 25 hours to present their case. Are you concerned at all that they're going to use that case to present Rudy Giuliani's?
Look, they can present what they want to, but I think if they go try to come up with all of these extraneous, often conspiratorial theories that have no basis in fact, they will lose in the eyes of the American people. And I don't think most Republicans, even in the Senate, want to see that done. Yes.
Are you worried, given the Republicans are running?
I couldn't hear you.
If Trump gets acquitted by the Senate, are you worried this might further embolden it?
Well, look, I believe that if we don't do this seriously and get all the facts out, yes, America's at risk. Because that will mean we'll never have a real impeachment trial. Because if you can't get the fundamental and basic facts getting out in the public and for the senators to hear, this president could be further emboldened and future presidents could be further emboldened. The founding fathers had impeachment as one of the most solemn, serious, and important checks on a president who overreaches. If the president can just abnegate any serious trial by withholding facts, withholding witnesses, withholding documents, the country has future trouble. Thank you, everybody.